Hi, this is Professor Rujo Moreno with an overview of Objective 4 in Chapter 2. So it's very important to know that your balance sheet income and expense statements are going to be your base way of measuring things. And so it's very, very important that you get into a habit of keeping some type of record on things like your assets and liabilities and seeing where your net worth is at a particular time. Probably, I would say, even more important to keep track of your spending and make sure you have that listed. Now, you don't have to necessarily keep a physical book, but if you say use your debit card for everything, you can see your spending. You can actually categorize it using most bank offered tools. You can start categorizing things as food and housing and other types of things and look at exactly how you're spending. So I would highly, highly recommend that as well. But anyway, the exercises that I've given you have started you on that path. Okay. And of course, what is finance? What a little bit of analysis, right? I mean, that's the fun part of it is how do you analyze these things? So we're going to look at ratio analysis, the key part of this objective. And there are four different ones that we're going to be looking at. One is something called a solvency ratio, okay, which looks at and simply compares your net worth and to your total assets. So we're getting both of these from your personal balance sheet. And if you look at the Taylors, which is the one that's in the book, they have an $86,000 net worth and $260,000 of assets. So their solvency ratio is 33.3%, which is very good. Very, very good. Now, the liquidity ratio looks at their ability to grab cash to pay their debts. Okay. So we look at two things again from the personal balance sheet. We look at those total liquid assets and we compare that to the total current liabilities or current debts that they have to see how much cash they have to cover their total debts right now. And so here they had over $2,200 of liquid assets compared to 17,000 in current debts this year. So their liquidity ratio is only 12.9%. Okay. Now the savings ratio is very important, right? Because the savings ratio is literally the surplus that you calculated in the income and expense statement, right? The amount of cash surplus is the amount of income above and beyond all your expenses. So we take a look at that cash surplus and we compare it to your income after you've paid taxes. Now this is simply net income. Okay, for those that just look at your paycheck to net income. And this is a very important ratio because this is where wealth is built. Okay. And so here, the Taylors have a $21,000 surplus, and they have roughly about a $66,000 income after taxes. So they are able to save 32.5% of their salary, net salary. They're living well below their, they only need about $68 out of every $100 they're earning to live. The other $32 are being saved or could be saved, could be used for a bunch of other things. But this is an important ratio. The savings ratio is linked to people's ability to retire early. So for example, if you have a very, very high savings ratio like the Taylors do, they can probably retire early because they continually spend a lot less than what they earn. And thus, if they're able to save the difference for the future, they're going to cover their expenses for many, many years. And this is going to be quite fast for them. So it's quite possible the Taylors could literally retire before 50 with this type of a savings ratio. Okay. Another thing to look at is your debt service ratio. Now, this is the amount of loan payments you're making per month compared to your gross income for that month. Okay. So here the Taylors have $1,387 of loan payments on a monthly basis, and they make over $7,000 per month in their gross income. So that debt service ratio is 19%. You want to make sure you keep that as low as possible. Below 30 is very good. Below 20 is really ideal. And of course, if it's well below 10, et cetera, you're perfect. I mean, you're not going to have any stress whatsoever. So when you're actually calculating this type of a ratio, the higher this percentage is, the more stress you're going to have, because the more of your salary is going to pay other people. You're working to pay other people. And that's not really that actually is a really good source of stress. So one of the goals is to learn about this so you can reduce your stress over time. So you're used to keeping much of what you earn and not owing it to other people. So you'll be practicing these ratios. There's a little bit more on each of those, but you're going to be practicing these in this section as well. Okay, see you again soon.